Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF. This is a program we've been doing for 214 weeks in a row. We've done 217 total broadcasts, and something we're really happy about. And it's brought to you by Modern Agent Team here in Northern New Jersey, as well as NJHeroesProgram.com. And, of course, me, Dave Finale. I am Real Estate Skill Builder. RealEstateSkillBuilder.com if you want to take a look, or RESkillBuilder.com if you want to set up a time to have a conversation. But if we're here just to give value back to the real estate industry, that can be real estate agents, it can be mortgage professionals, it can be anybody having anything to do with real estate or sales for that matter. And my goal is always to bring in the best of the best. And I have yet to miss in 217 tries. Today, we have a gentleman that I've known for many years. We haven't communicated a lot recently, but he is the CEO and founder of the Gibson Sotheby's Realty up in Massachusetts. Good morning, Larry Rideout.
Good morning, Dave. How are you today?
I am fantastic, man. Let's go to a quick video, and then we're going to get started.
Real estate agent, are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder podcast.
Good morning, everybody. As I said, this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 217. We have the great Larry Rideout, who I knew way back in his Realogy and Century 21 days when I was a broker owner there for a long time. And Larry has taken a business and just exploded it by building relationships. And I think that's, from our conversation, Larry, if I had to talk about your business and what you've done, it's basically taking chances and building relationships. Would that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it sums up.
So, we call this Real Estate Talk TGIF, and I have to ask the question, as I do every Friday morning, what does TGIF stand for, Larry?
Thank God it's Friday.
You are really close. I'm sorry, you're not completely. Thank God it's finale. Here I am. That's what it's all about. I make it about me, but it's really not. It's about everyone that will watch it live, that will watch this in the future. And it's really cool to be involved with the real estate industry the way I have been over the years, and I have access to the greats. And here you are, man. Talk to me about, really just talk to me about your business and how you got started. I mean, where did you come from? I mentioned Realogy and Century 21. Talk to me about your beginning and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, it's I had one of the best, I guess, tracks that anybody could follow in real estate, because I started out as an agent, obviously. Did that for about 5 or 6 years, moved into a management capacity with a Century 21 company. I started in the 80s when Century 21 was the dominant brand. Really, it was probably one of the only brands out there.
Right.
So I got involved with them as an agent, then as a manager. And while I was managing, the local New England corporate kind of interacted with me somewhat, and they liked me and I liked them. And an opportunity to be a consultant for them came about, and I moved over from the sales side over to the corporate side. And that's where I think the education began for me, because by the time I got through with all of this, I was a senior vice president in Realty Corporation for business and business affiliations, mergers, acquisitions. But in that time, I bet I walked through 1,000 offices, including yours, Dave. And so
yeah,
I got to see offices run. I got to see how they ran, what they did well and what they didn't do well. And I guess I filed it away in my brain. And then one day, when I probably had done all I could do in Realogy, I always joke and say I'm the president of the hair club for men guy. I not only liked what I was doing, but I went out and did it myself. And myself and my partner, Paul McGann, bought a company in Boston.
Right.
And then we had to make a decision about affiliation. What are we going to do, independent and all of that sort of thing? And lo and behold, Boston did not have a Sotheby's International Realty, which was surprising to us, and a pleasant surprise, actually. And we went before Sotheby's, which means you have to go before the auction house as well and present your case. And they actually gave us a pass, because they generally only bring in experienced companies, with a track record. And my partner and I were not, obviously. But they gave us the opportunity. They They blessed. We had 3 companies at that time, 3 offices, amounting to about 50 agents. It was about a $240 million company. We established ourselves with them and began to get a foothold in Boston. And then we just kind of grew. But we grew with a philosophy that our job was going to be, our clients and customers were going to be our agents. And we're going to take care of them 100% as much as we can, marketing, everything. So we kind of put a lot of things in place that I think attracted agents. Plus the Sotheby brand is not something to be, winked at. That's an incredible opportunity when you have it. And we just kind of grew it. And my background in merger acquisitions didn't hurt. So we were recruiting. And I said to you the other day, Dave, we started out, we feel like we're in a brand that's fairly prestigious, and you can't have necessarily brand new people in there. My saying is that a seller that hires Sotheby's doesn't want someone that's going to practice on them. So we kind of took the philosophy of let's go after experienced people, but the experienced people had to fit our culture, and our culture is a family culture. And frankly, to today, it is. It still is. So, and what we reached out to our agents and said, look, we don't know the Boston market. You do. We don't know the Boston agents. You do. How would you like to pick the person that's going to work next to you? And so what we created was an invitation-only opportunity. One of our agents had to approach us and say, I just did a co-broke with this person. They're incredible. Like you to meet them. And we met them. And so we grew the recruiting that way over the, until 2008, when the whole world crashed around us. And we realized we had kind of tapped ourselves out buying the company. So there was no liquidity for us when that happened.
Wow.
And so we had to kind of take a breath and say, are we going to just crumble or are we going to go? And we decided to go. And we went and acquired maybe 5 more offices between 2008 and 2011,
right,
to make us a 8-office company. And we acquired them for, little or no money. We took on their expenses essentially, and then we held on for dear life. And when the market turned around 2012, market started coming back. We were sitting in a lot of good places, and so we got the wait.
So the timeline is that you started this with a couple of offices, like 2007, something like that, right?
Yeah.
As the shit was hitting the fan, right?
Yeah.
And then why did you do it? Because a lot of people I look at, honestly, Larry, and I'm sure you do too, you scratch your head, wow, they opened their own place. Why would you do that? I mean, back then, okay, I get today, I don't at all, but why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? What was the impetus for you to do that, knowing what was going on in the market?
Well, it's going to be strictly a personal reason for me. I was, when I worked for Realogy, I would leave on Monday, come back on Friday. I had Midwest and Northeast as territories.
Yeah.
I had 3 teams. I represented all the brands out there trying to affiliate and merge. So I was flying all the time. I was always in the air, always someplace.
Right.
And after doing that for 6 years, it was like I'd had enough. I had 4 wonderful girls, and 2 of them work right with me in my corporate office right now, and one of them is still in the real estate industry. And I missed the first 2 essentially because I was traveling. I didn't see them grow up. I saw them on weekends. So when the second 2 came along, I started realizing what I was going to miss again. And I resigned essentially Realogy. No one was expecting it. I just left and said, I'm going to go back to Boston and figure out what I can do next. And this opportunity came about, and the rest just was history.
Well, that's really cool. I like that. So, okay. So we go from 07, 08, no money, just taking doors, taking companies and taking over their expenses. And I'm sure they like, even these companies had a sigh of relief when you came in, even though you didn't give them a dime. Is that right?
Absolutely. Everybody knew what was coming. So it was a matter of, buckle it up or get the hell out. And so we were catching the people that were wanting to move on.
So you went from 2 offices and
50 agents
and over 200 million in production when you started.
Yeah. The South End office was a dominant office in the South End. So that was our nucleus and our base and our foundation. And you know what? Today, 15 years later, I'll bet you I have the same team there. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing run.
That's amazing, man. And it's going to keep going the way you're doing stuff, because I see you on social a little bit, and I see the love. I actually see the love come through on social media from your people and you, and it's amazing. Now, I want everybody to understand these numbers right now. To today, you have 24 offices.
Yes.
About 450 agents.
Correct.
And in 21, you did 4.5 billion in sales. That's with a B, everybody. 4.5 billion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So to use a stupid expression, let's unpack this whole thing and how you got there, right?
Yeah.
So it has to do with business. It has to do with the nitty gritty of the real estate business, whether it's prospecting or whatever it is. So the bases that you started these companies and picked up this business and started taking over other people's brokerages that needed some help. Well, how did you base and what was your what was your mission, your vision, your values? What was your perspective on that?
We have a promise to our company that we would never expand into a market that didn't benefit the existing company, and that's kind of the philosophy we've operated with. So to give you a sense of it, I'll give you Arlington. We did Arlington. We actually purchased the Arlington company, which is a phenomenal company, number one in their market for 70 years, during COVID. Probably the worst time that anybody would do anything,
right.
But we got it done. But Arlington became an interest to us because our agents were operating in the Arlington market. All of a sudden, we were having an impact over there, or we were, referring, or we were finding business, and we realized, why aren't we there? And that's kind of how we always grow. We look around and see where are we impacted? What markets have we impacted? How does it benefit the existing company? We sit down and look at the companies that are there and decide what might be one that fits our culture. And Arlington's the best example because it's almost like a mirror image of our culture, and the people are the same way. So
right.
So we sit down and we approach an office and just say, look, here's who we are, and they kind of know us in the marketplace. Here's what we're about. We're a family organization. We'd love you to be part of that family. And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, and then we pursue a deal.
Great. Okay. So you buy the company, and are you? What is your level of involvement with the agents as such? I mean, is it just the corporate part of the company that you're doing, or are you agent centric as far as everything else? Talk to me about your structure and how you've been able to build 450 agents.
Yeah, and we're totally unique in that regard. I mean, I don't know of any other company that operates the way we do. We don't have managers in offices. We just don't do that. We made that determination. For one, it's an expense. For two, a manager gets his or her talent gets diluted. She has to be the counselor, the person, the admin. There's 9 jobs. We thought about those 9 jobs, and we set up specifically people that could deal with them, and we created what we call a leadership team. So my entire team is responsible for 24 offices, and that's essentially why we keep the personal touch. When they have meetings, there's always somebody there. Many times it's me. I'm still in the street all the time. My partner's in the street, and you called me a CEO. I gave that title up a couple of years ago to Colleen Barry, who's phenomenal. And
okay.
She's out there working for us. They kicked me up to chairman, so I don't know what that means, but that's the title I ended up with. So that leadership team is in the street every day and report to the agents on anything that they need. If you need a marketing, we have a couple of marketing persons. We have marketing admins in every office. So there's 24 marketing admins. So no one has to go looking to do a show sheet or change a price, or it happens within the office. Then we have a full marketing department in Boston that handles all the big stuff and the high-end listings and the things like that. And then we have 3 brokerage people that are actually been in the street. They're current. They know what's going on, and any one of them can reach any one of them. And we have an in-house attorney. I say to my people, if you ever feel like something's uncomfortable, make a phone call. And that's 7 days a week for all of us. And it's a lot of work, but it works.
Yeah. So as a typical brokerage works, I mean, you seem to have cut expenses, but you've added expenses. I mean,
yes,
there aren't a lot of companies, even your size, Larry, that have an in-house attorney.
Right.
Talk to me about how that works for your company.
Well, you know what we saw as we were growing. We're in a litigious society. You all know
yes,
that.
Absolutely.
And we were getting, as we got bigger, we were getting more of these frivolous lawsuits. But guess what? I still had to pay an attorney to defend them. So the attorney we chose to defend them became a friend, and he also has an amazing background. So we were always never afraid to pass it along to him. and we were cutting them a check and, doing our thing. But as we got bigger, there's more and more of this activity out there. We do 4,000 transactions a year. So there's a number, you have quite an exposure out there. So we decided, instead of one-offing him every time we get a call, we approached him and said to him, why don't you join us and become part of our team? And he joined us about 4 years ago. It's one of the best things we've ever done, because now he wasn't just dealing with litigious issues. He was available to my agents for all sorts of questions, and he comes back. He responds 7 days a week. The guy is amazing.
So we talked about how you grew your business and how you expanded. And one of the things you said, you may have alluded to it earlier, you followed the leads.
Yes.
Okay. And I want everybody to listen to this, because this is a way, if you have a brokerage and you're doing well and you want to expand, this is how Larry has figured out how to expand his company to 24 locations. Talk to me about that.
Well, what happens is, I'm, obviously I know a lot of owners, a lot of companies. Over the past 30 years, I've been in the business, and I've seen people just kind of jump at opportunities, but there's no connection to the main, the main trunk. And I saw that as always a mistake. You can't do something here in Boston and then open it on the Cape and expect that to just work. There's got to be some continuity, and it never works. I mean, it ends up costing. You can get lucky and do it, but overall, if I'm going to do this as a structured philosophy, I want to make sure it works. So for me, you have to be almost contiguous as you grow, in my mind, and with Sotheby's, we don't have to be, in Century 21 Days, you and I were both in, there's one in every town. They, sometimes within a half a mile of each other. Sotheby's doesn't have that philosophy, so it's real good for us. There's more of a regional concept. So right. I can be in one town and hit 2 other towns, but that next contiguous town might be the next one I'm looking at to connect to. And there's several still here in Massachusetts that are opportunities for us that we're looking at.
So as you move along, will you continue to expand? I mean, when is it going to be? Is it 30, 40?
Well, I have I'm going to be around a long time. I'm not a kid, I can tell you that. But I do have, my leadership team is very young, very good. So I feel very comfortable that we're probably going to continue. And not, it depends. I'll be honest with you. Right now, with all the noise out there about the, negativity about the economy and if you read a headline, you want to jump off the bridge. That isn't all true, and we all know that. There's an underlying factor of a strong foundation in our economy. Right. Exactly. Nothing's going to collapse. But that being said, there's 100 brokers out there that are reading that headline and trying to think how they can get out of it before they get hit again. And those are the people we go and find them. If they're good people and they fit our culture, we'll take the reins.
Yeah, to that point, I want to tell you, and I want to tell everybody out there, this is being recorded and being broadcast on August 5th, 2022. And I want to tell you that I ask agents this all the time. I said, who's out there panicking? Tell me the group that's panicking out there today. It's not the buyers. It's not the sellers. It's the real estate agents and brokers that are panicking right now. If you look at the old 80-20 rule, I'm telling you right now, it's the 80-20. 80-20, the 80%, some of them are panicking by saying, oh shit, what do I do? I wasn't taught what a price reduction was. And there's other ones that say, well, look at this shiny bullet over here. Look at this shiny object. Maybe I'll go jump brokerages and go over there. Look, if you're going to jump brokerages, make sure that they've got the support and they're going to stand next to you on a daily basis, as I do, as Larry does. It's really important for you to have that support. And if you're not going to have that support, if it's just a shiny object where they're going to give you 10 extra postcards, don't do it. Don't panic. Learn what's going on. And one other point I want to make before we continue is that mainstream media still hasn't understood, and they still don't understand what's going on. You just hit the nail on the head by saying there's all this panic out there, all these things are happening, but things aren't as bad as everybody thinks they are, right?
Right.
If you're going to put a post out there that says, well, look at the interest rate today, look at what it was 10 years ago. If you're not going to explain it, don't post it. That's my opinion on social. You need to be out there and be different. Talk to me about moving forward in this market that we're in today, Larry, about, what are you doing differently? What are your agents doing differently? What's the message?
We're almost harkening back to when COVID hit. It forced us all to upgrade in our technology aspects. I mean, let's face it. It was all sitting out there. No one was using it. Zoom. What was Zoom? We didn't know. Overnight.
I want you to know that I used Zoom for years before, and I always had trouble getting agents to use it. Yeah. But anyway,
my daughter, who's the VP of our company, was trying to get us to use Zoom for a year before it happened. So there's people that understand it and people that just didn't think it was needed. Well, now it is, and so we know that part. So what we learned though with COVID was, and we had, it was a struggle for everybody. We got on Zoom, we hugged our guys virtually everywhere every day just to make sure everybody knew we were there for them. But we also went back and said, it's time to get back to basic. You have a list of business that you've done over the last 5 years that you haven't even reached out and spoken to one of those people ever.
That's right.
So let's
right.
pull that list out and start doing that. It's time again. Anyone that's in the business has people that they've sold homes to or listed properties with that they haven't made a phone call to or send them a note or anything. And this is the time to make contact because they're wondering what's going on and you can be the purveyor of the information. And that's kind of what we're driving right now with our companies. Like, let's get back to make sure people know we're here because we're the experienced guys and we can sell this or we can help them buy a property and tell them what the economy is really like and where it's going and keep them current. I mean, you and I are talking now, who knows? Something happens in Taiwan and China and the whole world's going to flip over. We don't know that. I can't predict that. I can tell you if everything's going the way it's going, there's going to be business to be had and we need to be the ones in front of it to get it.
Right. I mean, we used to hear years ago, like there's 5 million homes going to be sold this year. Well, how many are going to be from you? The interesting part about all of that and what you just said is, okay, so what are you going to do? And as I said, most agents weren't taught over the last 3 years how to be a real estate agent. They're taught how to be a server in a restaurant. Let's go take the order. And I'm going to tell you that happened in 2005 as well. So there was this learning curve that never happened. And you see the people that are crushing it today with great teams, great leaders, and the guys that I work with mostly, they got into the business in 08, 09, and 10, and were able to build those businesses and just catapulted when COVID hit. So, there's while the talk is still the same, it has to be a different tone to it. Would you agree with that? With what we're going through in a panic?
Very much so. You have to be the steadying influence. You have to be the calm person in the storm here. And one of the advantages I have is that I have experienced agents, so my agents have been through this, many of them, been through 3 of them, some of them, along with me. So we know that we're going to come out of this as well, but we have to go in with the confidence that we can get the job done for everybody.
Right. And you have the experience of several shifts similar to this. I started the business back in the 70s. I know I don't look that old. I actually got licensed when I was 2. But I remember starting in this business and moving forward from the 70s to the 80s, interest rates were 18-20%. People still bought and sold homes, right? Yep. And as it moved through what Reagan did and then how the collapse at the end of the 80s, early 90s, and how that built up, and then we hit September 11th, and then, we can go through any shift there has been.
Right.
And the ones with the experience are really the ones that the agents should be going and talking to, unless you're innovative enough to understand, like the people I talked about that got into business 10, 12 years ago. So you've got a brand. Okay.
Yes. Amazing brand. Amazing.
You've got an amazing brand up there. And we talked a little bit about the other day about how some areas aren't for you. You know that you're not going to go into certain areas. You're not going to build. A lot of people expand incorrectly. You talked about that briefly a little while ago. And I can verify that when you try to expand in a different market, if you're not doing it by the way you said it, which I think is ingenious, you will fail. I failed. Mm-hmm. I opened another second office. I failed. 30 minutes away. When I did it next town over and the next town over, I didn't fail. I succeeded. Yeah. Right. So that's case in point right there. So talk to me about where you're not going to go and why.
Well, first, so I'm clear, with the Sotheby's International Realty brand can sell any price point from $150,000 to $20 million. Right. Everybody same marketing from us, but the consumer preference for Sotheby's is probably a little bit more higher than most brands have. So we're obviously going to follow the lead with that. If there's a market that's available that's on a higher scale, higher end, we're probably more comfortable with them. They're probably more comfortable with us. We can open anywhere, but see, my function, I've been around all the brands, so there's brands that will open in every town, and I think that dilutes the brand more than anything else. There's companies that will hire everybody. That I read the headlines. We're the largest employee of agents. Like congratulations. That's like an insurance agency. Everybody does one deal and you do 5,000 deals. Well, that's not our philosophy. That's not where we go. We focus on per person productivity.
Right.
And we have probably one of the highest. I think it is the highest in Massachusetts, but I haven't checked it today. In terms of bigger offices, I can't obviously compete with a 10 office company where there's one person that everybody feeds. But anything over 300 agents, we're probably the highest per person productivity. That's critical to us because that's the retention tool that we have that a lot of people don't have. If they're just running them through a mill and running them out and running them through, that's not the way we do it. So it's the same way with companies. We're not going to just go everywhere. We're going to really be exclusive as to who we pick and how we get there. And we're going to be exclusive as to who joins us. And that's kind of what drives where we go. It's not really price point. It's about where should we be.
Right. Exactly. Do you think, Larry, that you guys have, this is a loaded question. Do you have competition?
Oh my God. Yes, we do. My God. Well, it's all, again, it's business models. Look at the models out there now. There's people that are writing checks for agents to join. In my mind, it's now, if there's agents on the call, it's like when you go into a listing presentation and they say, well, the other guy will do it for X and it's much lower than your number. There's a reason for that, right? They're not providing some value. They're holding something back. They're not doing it more cheaply and carrying out the same way you would do that. That's my idea about the check writing for companies. If you can't show value, you have to buy the person. There's something missing there. And I think everyone should think about that because a check goes away in a year. And now you're on your own the next year. Make sure that company's worth being there for the second year and not jumping for the cash on the front end. And it's just, I call it, I have my answer in recruiting interviews because I get up against them all the time. It's like, oh, they'll give me X, if you give me X, I'll join you. And it's like, here's the deal. It's cash or culture. If you want cash, there's a multitude of companies out there that'll write you a check. If you want culture and you want to grow and you want to stay in a company for the rest of your career, I'm the place you're going to come and join. Right.
And that's, I love that, cash or culture. And you said the other day, if you don't fit, you don't work with us. We don't write checks. Right. Yeah. And I love that because it's really like I know here in New Jersey, there are a couple of companies writing checks, some small, some huge checks, right? For agents that can join them. And I don't get, the value. So if someone's going to pay you that kind of money, you better love what you're doing because you're there for a while. Unless if you're not, you got to give the money back. Yeah. Right.
That's the other advice is read the contract. Because we're seeing people getting shocked with the contract. Read it. Hire an attorney. If you're making a decision like that, let an attorney read it and tell you exactly what your responsibility is because nobody gives you anything for nothing.
No, they don't. I mean, it is. They may be very, very nice people, but you know what? As the old saying goes, as you know, money talks, bullshit walks. So okay. So let's talk about the nitty gritty of your company and the nitty gritty of how you've grown your business, along with bringing on experienced agents. So the agents are experienced. How does the collaborative effect work for you inside your company, Gibson Sotheby's? Talk to me about the collaborative effect. We talked about this a little bit the other day.
Yes. What happens, I keep referencing family culture, and it really, we try to make every person be like us. We're all different. Everything's different. But the underlying factor for all of us is everybody works together within our company. There's companies where if a phone call comes in for one agent and another agent from the same lister, it's like, good luck, knock yourself out, best man. We try to bring them together. Say, look, here's the deal. Two of you are stronger than one of you. 50% of the pie is better than no percent of the pie. Let's work together. And I can tell you it's happened and worked for us many, 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 many times. And they get it. They understand. And you go and sit with a seller and he's chosen you too. He's already won or she's already won. It's very simple. So that's the collaborative thing. We don't make them compete with one another. We try to make everyone work together. I'll give you my Cambridge office. It's one of my favorite for collaboration. They were bringing sellers into the office. We have the high top tables and do a presentation there with our agents there. And the reason was to show the strength of the team. We talk about when you hire me, you hire a team. They do it right in front of the team. Anyone that's in the building, they'd ask them a question. They'd include them in the presentation. that's the philosophy we'd love to carry across the company, and we try to carry across the company. Is you're not hiring Larry Rideout, you're hiring Gibson Sotheby's, and there's an entire 450 people that are going to be working for you when I walk out the door today.
Right, and that's an amazing thing. And one of the things that I saw, and I would tell a little quick story. I remember the old Century 21 days, and it was a great company. It still is a great company.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought was really a detriment to that company was that they'd have these conventions and these sessions and stuff, and you'd see these 5-6 big guys on the stage that have, okay, let's say it's a Larry Rideout with 450 agents. Well, the way you're talking here, Larry, is like a human being, like a person, like someone I could relate to. If I had a question, I know I can call you, right?
Yes.
That was not what happened in those days. You would talk about your assistant did this and your assistant did that. And if I called you, I could never get you on the phone. Today, with the collaboration that your company has, the collaboration that I work with on a regular basis, I sit every Monday, Larry, with 500 people or more, and we talk about the nitty gritty of the business, from the trenches all the way up to scaling and how to use virtual assistants and how to set up systems with Sisu and Asana and all this other stuff. That's the beauty of the real estate business today. And I would tell anybody that wants to get into this business, find a company with the collaborative effect, such as Gibson Sotheby, such as the one I work with. It all depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for people to hold your hand, they can do it, and they will. Would you agree with that kind of story there?
Very much so. Very much so. Because when we say experience, there's people that have a powerful network or a powerful personality that we will take a chance with, because we can do it with collaborative methods. We can have them mentored by someone and bring them along. We've brought many along like that, but they have to show something special for us to do that. But we'll put the effort in to get them there too.
Right. And with the collaboration, I mean, you've got a huge group there. And with my group, there's not one question I can't answer. There's not one issue I cannot solve, simply because I've got assets all over the country for me. And you've got assets right there, as well as other Sotheby's. I mean, I've got great friends in your franchise group, such as, I'm sure you know Charlie Oppler, a friend of mine.
Man,
right?
Yes.
So I mean, I'm very lucky to be able to. I could call him. I mean, but that's because they understand, and you understand the collaborative effect. So how do you expand your business and your company in this kind of a shifted market?
Well, very carefully, because obviously expenses are going to become a critical part of your being profitable. So right now we're not rushing into anything. We're managing it. I'm actually talking to 2 other companies right now that could potentially happen. But we all have to do everything measured right now till we figure out where this thing is going to be, and we'll know shortly where it's going. But everything has to be measured. You have to watch your expenses, but you can't make the expenses a cut to your agents and how they get their job done. So you have to figure other ways to do that, and we are doing it.
So are you staying really on top of expenses, or are you cutting expenses, or what does it look like? Because this is a critical point for a lot of broker owners and team leaders moving forward.
Right. We are not cutting expenses. We're staying on top of them. So, you just have to, sometimes we would write checks for, we have to talk about it now and say, do you want to just do this, or you want to just pass and see where we are? And so it's more of a sensibility towards the expenses, not about cutting them. It's about making sure whatever we're doing is needed for this moment. And if there's something that's extra, we may not be looking at the extra thing at the moment.
I get that 100%. So okay. So I'm going to ask you 2 bits of advice. Let's talk about agents first. Agents in this market, how would you advise them to go build their business? I'm not talking about the stuck agents. I'm talking about people that want to grow, that are willing to work. What is the base? What should be the base of their business? And what do you think they should do right now to grow their business and scale?
Well, I said it earlier. It's maybe go back and take a look at the list of your past business and
Yes.
reach out and touch people. I had one agent that when COVID hit, and Boston really, it's a condo community, so it just dropped like a stone. And we had lunch, and he was concerned. He's a Boston guy, and then he explained to me that he came from a certain suburb. I said, why don't you go back into that suburb and try, reintroduce yourself? Maybe there's something going on there that's more, because it was a suburb and suburbs are still moving. He went back there and he killed it in the suburbs. And now Boston is back. He's back in Boston again. So sometimes it's just about, you have to sit down and think about where could you be most effective and get there and do something about it? Because, things change, markets change. You have to follow the leads. You have to follow the money.
Right. And you basically, you said the same thing twice. It's all about your database and who you've talked to, who you haven't talked to. And you need to keep going after it. And you need to build the momentum in making those calls and connecting with people and building relationships as you have done to build your business. The second question is, if you're a broker owner, if you're a team leader, how do you grow that brokerage? How do you grow that team, both in agents, both in volume and both in profit?
Well, looking at it from a team perspective, if I were a team captain, what I mentioned earlier about broker owners, some of them are not comfortable right now. And
Right.
so there's a huge opportunity there if you pick the right person and do the right thing. Teams have the same thing. Agents are looking out there right now saying, what am I going to do next week? What am I going to do next week? If there's a solid team with a good culture, and they could grow rapidly, because there's people that we're looking for that line. Throw me the line and give me an opportunity to make some money and grow through you. So they should be doing essentially what I'm doing and what anyone would be doing, which is looking out there and seeing who you can help grow through your company or through your team.
Exactly. And you hit the nail on the head right there with everything. So as time goes on, man, there's people in the Boston area that will see this, and they want to get in touch with Larry Rideout on how do I join your team? How do I talk to you? So I put some numbers on the screen here. Talk to me the best way to contact you.
Best way for me would be probably email, and I can give you that if you want. It's just
it's on there right now. It's Larry R at Gibson SIR.com.
Yep.
It's on there along with the website and the company phone numbers there. And that Larry Rideout is your Instagram. So, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I have two other things for you. Unless there's anything else you want to add from our conversation.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome. Thank you too. So I have two things. One is a question. One is a statement. Number one, Larry, how do I, Dave Finale from Real Estate Skill Builder, how do I help you grow your business?
I don't know, just word of mouth, good things. Like you say, when you're traveling, there's people from my marketplace that are around you and know you. And, you could just suggest that if you're thinking about anything, Larry Rideout's out there to chat with.
I certainly will. And I can do that very easily as you and I both, I travel probably more than you do these days, but that's fine anyway. And then, of course, the last thing that we do on this broadcast is, I know this was one of the main reasons you wanted to come on today.
Exactly. The hat.
Right. So the hat is coming out to you. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Next week we have Amy Gregory from Arizona, who is a powerhouse agent coming from helping women build generational wealth through her business. And she's going to be on with us next Friday, August 12th at 11 a.m. Eastern. And Larry, I want to thank you so much for being on, man. It was great reconnecting with you this week. I look forward to, seeing you in person someday and collaborating ourselves. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dave.
Great. Just stay on for a second. We'll be right back, everybody. And let's have some fun this weekend. Enjoy yourselves and go out there and rock your open houses.